Welcome to the Osogovo YouTube channel. My name is Sam, back again for another video. This time I am joined with ex-hashtag United player and also hashtag goalkeeper Andy Cade-Watts. Andy, how are you today?
Very good, thank you, mate.
Brilliant.
Excited to be in your presence today for this interview.
Thank you very much. I'd like to get a couple of bits of information on your time with obviously hashtag. You're obviously still with them, but they've developed since you played. Obviously, they're in the Football League ladder now, and before you were playing in terms of they were going through divisions, weren't they, as opposed to the setup they're in now.
So I was part of the few players that made the transition between Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. So I was able to see both, and obviously now being part of the coaching staff and then helping out devs and the other coaches, still involved, which is good, exciting, enjoy it very much. So got experience of both playing and now coaching within the hashtag environment.
Well, just rewinding back to the very start, obviously when Spencer came to you about the idea of hashtag United, what was your sort of opinion on the football YouTube scene? Had you seen much of what had gone on YouTube, or was it you'd got a bit of knowledge from Spencer and you sort of...
Yeah, my link into the team is Seb. So I went to uni with Seb. It seemed like a long time ago. So there was Seb, Phil Martin, John Dawson, Dan Brown. I'm sure I've missed someone out there as well at some point. But yeah, we all went to university at Northampton. So I was in the third year at university when Seb was in the first year. We both played in the first team together there. So it was actually a phone call from Seb. Dan Fazy had been playing, and at that point, Dawson was playing, Dan Brown was playing as well. I think Phil was also involved from the very start. But yeah, Dan Fazy was in goal, and then it came to a point, I think Dan was leaving to go to America with YouTube. He worked for YouTube, but he'd been repositioned to move across, so then he needed a goalkeeper. So Seb actually phoned. I hadn't played in goal at that point for most probably about 15 years.
Wow.
I mean, it was quite a long time. So, but I was actually injured my ankle playing maybe 12 weeks, 14 weeks, something like before that. And I was on crutches, and it was quite a bad injury, and I was considering not coming back and not playing football anymore anyway. So my outfield career as such had finished. Seb gave me a call. I knew a little bit about it just from speaking to the other guys, and we still played a little bit of golf together as well. So during golf days and what, chatted about it, but it wasn't too much on my radar. To be honest, I didn't know too much about it. I don't think I'd watched the game. It was just a case of Seb. He's a very good salesman as well. Seb, he's very good. So he phoned and he kind of said, "Do you want to come? We need a goalkeeper. Come down." I think it was in a couple of weeks' time. They were filming some challenge episodes. Do you want to get involved? It's they were playing at Haringey at the time, at the hashtag arena. It was about 20 minutes from my house. It gave me a great sales pitch. It's really close to your house. We play maybe once or twice a month, so it fit in with my lifestyle at the time. And I was like, yeah, fine. It'd be really good just to see those guys again. I hadn't played football with them for such a long time as well, just to reconnect and get re-involved in that. It seemed like a perfect opportunity. Little did I know that it was going to go where it went to. The opportunities we've had, the places that we played in, it was just phenomenal. So it didn't take a lot of sales, but it was more around just getting back and playing football with friends again. Friends that I hadn't played with. So I was just trying to relive uni days again and getting back to that. So being able to go on the journey that we've been on and still being involved now is brilliant.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, I was going to ask you about your years prior in goal. What was it like in terms of experience before hashtag United? Obviously, you said 15 years before you'd played in goal. Did you play like Sunday League, or was it higher?
Well, yeah. So I mean, my youth, I played youth team football. Yeah. I started playing out, and then I think I was 9 or 10 when I first started playing in goal. I played for the same youth team up near Wolverhampton, where I'm from. My dad was the manager for the majority of my youth team career. I went all the way through to under 18s with them. And that was as a goalkeeper. I had a couple of trials at the time with professional teams. Went to Villa for a little bit and wasn't successful. When I was 18, I was playing for the youth team of a semi-professional club there, and I played in a couple of trialist games for Stoke as well. Didn't make the grade. And at that point, I was like, do you know what? I just want to enjoy football again. So I stopped playing in goal, started playing out, and was playing Sunday morning football, playing as a centre forward. Not scoring many goals, but very industrious. I ran around a lot, won a few headers, but yeah, didn't put the ball in the back of the net as much as I should have. Then went travelling for a year, and then went to university. So at that point, it's like, well, I'm ready to go back and play in goal again.
Yeah.
So my first year of university, I got selected and then dropped from the second team at uni. So then I went to play what was called inter-college football. So it was football just between various different areas of the university, but it was a university-led, and then there were 3 or 4 university teams on top of that. And then in the second year, played in goal for the first team, and then for the third year for the first team as well. So at that point, I was very much getting back and playing in goal. After that, then I was going to play football at a decent standard, again semi-pro standard, and I met my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and we've got 2 children together at university more or less the first week. She lives down in London. I lived up in Wolverhampton, and if you're going to play in goal, then you're going to play in goal at a good level. It involves training a couple of times a week, playing once a week, playing every Saturday, and trying to have that and a longest distance relationship didn't quite work.
Yeah,
so I ended up stopped playing in goal and started playing out again. So I just started with a bunch of friends for the youth team that I was involved in, and they then started an adult team. So I was playing outfield for an adult team, and then I was missing 1 game in 3, 1 game in 4 because I was travelling down here.
Yeah.
That was at step 7, so it was classed as semi-pro, but that's the very bottom of the pyramid. There, it was in the West Midlands Regional League, so just knocking about with those guys really. Friends from high school, playing football. At that point now, I kind of just dipped in and out of football at low level, semi-pro. Played in step 6, played in step 7. Went to America for a year, coached across at the New York Red Bulls for a year, came back. At that point then, moved down to London, and again just tried to get into a football team. Played Saturday football just outside of the period for a little bit, just for a local team. Then actually through someone at work started playing for a team called Bush Hill Rangers, which again was in step 7, I think they were at the time, but Tash Richmond was there from Hashtag, so I ended up playing with Tash, and I was playing centre midfield at the time, and he was playing centre forward. We've got a couple of promotions with Bush Hill, playing decent-ish standard. It was also step 6, step 7 again. So Hashtag at the moment is step 5. So at last year's level that I was playing in goal with, that was the kind of outfield standard that I ever played at. That was the highest level that I played at. I started off as a kind of a withdrawn centre forward, a Teddy Sheringham type role. No pace, little bit of vision, find little pockets type player. Then found out that actually I'll move back into a centre midfield, half type role. So I just moved back, and then obviously ended up in Hashtag and playing in goal again. Played with Tash for a few years at Bush Hill, and then just got involved with a team of friends again that I'd met down here, and they were playing just Saturday league football. Finished with them, actually was playing in a random league on a Thursday and hurt my ankle, and that was me going, right, I think I'm pretty done. I think I was early 30s at the time, 32, 33, and that's when Seb called to come back to Hashtag. So I think I played a semi-professional game of football in every position apart from left back. I just needed to chalk up left back at some point. I was all right.
Call Devs up, see if he's got a left back spot available.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't get anywhere near the first starting 11 bench or anything for Hashtag, both last year or this year. So yeah, not as an outfield player anyway. I might make the bench as a goalkeeper these days. If they're getting really short and really desperate, I'll
I'll step in. So you then obviously started playing for hashtag, and then what was it like playing sort of with it being filmed? And it was obviously it was obviously a big vocal point in terms of hashtag United history. It's always been, for better for word, it's also social media based, wasn't it? So it was getting filmed every game. It was a sort of setup where it was divisions. It wasn't in the Football League ladder, as we know hashtag United already. But what was it like for yourself playing in goal for hashtag?
I mean, at the start, it was just a game of football. I don't know it. I definitely didn't sort of
envisage
bothered by the cameras around, because there was no one watching it either. I mean, there was no crowd for the majority of the games. I mean, we played down at Theo's team, New Haven, and there was a crowd there. There was a crowd against Palmer's, but it was not like it was massive amount of football. A massive amount of people coming to watch football. I mean, the kind of standard of football that I played before, there'd be kind of
bigger,
50 people sitting down, and you know, it's not that the game didn't matter. We wanted to win. Don't get me wrong. And the opposition wanted to win, and sometimes the games got a little bit feisty. Yeah. But yeah, the fact that it was filmed, it didn't really mean anything to me. I mean, someone like LP might come up to you at the beginning of the game and shove a camera in your face and ask a question, or try and get you to think on your feet a little bit with that. And then Spencer would do his filming bits, you know, pre-game, post-game, that just became part of the norm. I mean, and then, like I say, we wanted to win. So in terms of the divisions and getting up there, we understood the concept, and we understood what it meant and all the rest of it. But in terms of it being filmed, I don't think it was necessarily a big deal. What I found interesting on there, because we used to watch the games then as they came out, and then you kind of have a look down the comments and just see what was said, and you know, respond to every now and again. But I had a Twitter account. My Twitter account for ages was AndyJW10, and it was always number 10 because that's the number that I like to wear. Yes. So I was at, and then Spencer at one of the, I think it was just a filming challenges day, he said, "All right, have you got an Instagram account?" I was like, "No, haven't got one." He said, "Well, you might want to actually start one, because I'm going to post and I'll tag you in it, and then you'll see what happens off the back of that." So he posted, tagged me in, and I think I put one picture up straight away, which is just a random football picture that I had, and then suddenly you just saw numbers of people following, and it was like, yeah, this is something interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, so obviously then it grows, and then you just start talking to people, and then people ask you questions, and be it seeing you interact with people, and it gives a whole different perspective on things. And obviously the kind of target market for hashtag as such, or the viewers that watch hashtag or get involved in that, are generally the younger age group. So you get certain questions from the younger age groups, and because I've kind of always coached previously, I've coached for years. I most probably started when I was about 17. A lot of the questions that I've got previously, and this was one of the triggers why I wanted to start a YouTube page as well, was that a lot of the younger kids were then saying, "How do I become a better goalkeeper?" My first reaction to that was go watch David De Gea, or
not me.
I haven't played a golf for a long time, but I can try and help as much as I can, and give advice, whatever that means, you know, point people in right directions and stuff. So it's always been, I've always tried to use my Instagram and my Twitter in order to try and help other people and help a younger generation of goalkeepers, seeing as I'm now a goalkeeper again. It took a bit. I had a bit of an identity crisis, I think, for that first goalkeeper. I'm like, well, I'm not actually, but I am. But I was. Yeah. You know, and going through that, but yeah, trying to use it in a positive way in order to reinforce the good things about playing football and the good things about being in goal.
Obviously, with you say there was not many people obviously at hashtag games. Do you feel like sort of when something happened, i.e. a mistake happened, do you feel like your experience sort of made you just get it out of your head? You were like, well, although it's filmed, like you're obviously not thinking it's filmed at the time, but you just experience sort of kicks in.
Well, I was just thinking, I mean, I don't think I actually made that many mistakes to start off with.
Yeah, of course.
Big mistakes to start off with. I mean, I obviously, I took down Emil Heskey for a penalty in the Wembley Cup in front of 35,000 people. And that's actually been a really good learning curve for me. I think there was that, and there's some other instances of mistakes that I've made. And the thing with goalkeeping is that if you make a mistake, generally it leads to a goal. You know, you could be a centre forward and you miss a chance. You've got a next one. You've got the next. You'll always hear that. Oh, you've got the next one. Don't worry about it. You know, you centre midfielder, you misplace a pass. What's the outcome of you missing that pass? Potentially not a lot. You're a centre half. You might miss a tackle. You've got the goalkeeper behind who can sweep up and do whatever. If the goalkeeper make a mistake, the ball goes in the back of the net. And mentally, I think I found it very hard to get over mistakes to start off with. And I think I've always, looking back, I mean, it's always great, it's a bit of hindsight and looking back at what you did previously and how you've reacted to stuff previously. And I think I've generally had quite a negative mindset. So what coincided with me playing in goal also coincided with reading a lot about sports psychology and reading people like Dan Abrahams is one, Bill Beswick is another one, and they give certain coping strategies around mistakes and what you should and shouldn't do in order to help that. Because if you start thinking about a mistake and you sit on that mistake and you let it listen and you let it talk to you, then you can only go one way, and that's such a dangerous place to go within goalkeeping. Your reaction is so important to that. So I think previously I would have reacted to take the likes of the penalty at the Wembley Cup very badly, but I'm actually, that's like I say, that's one of the things I'm actually quite proud about. Not the fact that I've made a mistake, but my reaction to that mistake was very much all right. Okay, fine, I've made a mistake now. I've got to save the penalty. You know, if I didn't, I actually dived the wrong way for it. However, that kind of mental going, right, actually that's done, that's finished with. Now I've just got to get on with the next thing. So yeah, that's actually been a really big life lesson for me, generally.
Especially in front of 35,000 people, I think fans forget, although it's not just younger children as well, but people forget goalkeeping, sort of like the skill set you have to have is quite complex, and people seem to, more so for professional footballers, they sort of jump on goalkeepers when they make a mistake, because you're like, well, why haven't you saved that? You're meant to be sort of, you're meant to have that skill set, if you get what I mean, to a T type thing. Yeah,
I mean, there's a few different things I think in that question. One of them is, what's the perception of goalkeepers or goalkeeping from others? And you're very much judged on the saves you make and the mistakes that you make. So you're either up here or you're down here. However, there's so much other stuff that goes on within the game that potentially is more beneficial to the team as a whole that isn't seen, and it's not spoken about, and it's very much going ahead in the background type things. The way you manage your defence, the way that you communicate to it, your starting position, how you command your 6-yard box, your penalty spot, your space outside that. What's your starting position like in relation to your back four, to the ball, and all this stuff is so important, but it's never thought about, it's never spoken about. And one thing that really frustrates me is when you listen to pundits generally, if you listen to Watch Match Today on there, and you get certain criticisms which are out of the box criticisms. You shouldn't be beaten at the near post. You know, it's rubbish. Yeah. But it's out there, and because someone who has a background in the game has said it, therefore it's taken by other people, and therefore that is then reinforced. And that's one of the kind of things that when I was growing up, and you hear these things. I used to get lobbed a lot as a kid. Yeah. I mean, back in the days that I was a kid, and we were playing in full-size goals. You know, you're a 12-year-old kid, and you're playing in how big are these goals? It's going to happen. Yeah. Of course, it's going to happen. But then you hear that a lot, and it gets reinforced a lot by other kids, and then it kind of gets into training.
It's like a stigma, isn't it? Really,
down as a goalkeeper. So that's one thing. That's why people like Richard Lee is very good, ex-professional goalkeeper.
Played for Watford, my team.
Brentford and Watford and other places. He's very good within the media. David Priest is another one. You know, these are the kind of people that actually goalkeepers should listen to. They're ex-goalkeepers. They've got, and then they're in the social media space especially, but then they're also infiltrating this kind of standard media big boy type league, and they're the kind of people that should be on this. I mean, why should Match of the Day or Sky or whoever else have a centre forward, a centre half, a centre midfielder on there, but not a representation from the goalkeeping unit? But yet talk about goals and mistakes that have happened. I mean, people will have an opinion on that, whether or not that's. Opinion is opinion. Anyway, someone's opinion on it. It's not fact. It's not truth. However, an opinion needs to come from someone of some sort of standing who has some sort of education about what's going on, and whether or not that education is playing background, therefore, or if it's an education, coaching, and learning, and whatever else background, then fine. But we need to make sure that it's a positive reinforcement of goalkeeping and the right things are being said about that. And I'm not sure that happens currently. So that's one thing. And the other thing is around coaching and training, and you were talking about the skill set and the attributes needed to be a goalkeeper. One of the things that I've gone through my coaching qualifications up to UEFA B from an outfield perspective, and I'll hopefully be doing the UEFA B qualification for goalkeeping soon whenever they open up stuff again for that. So I've done level 1, level 2 from there, and a lot of that coaching that's out in those particular courses, and there's lots of CPD stuff out there, so continual professional development, where you can learn about a range of stuff, and there is specific modules around mentality and around the psychology of sport and psychology of football. But I think that's so massive for goalkeepers, potentially bigger than other areas and other departments. I mean, I remember when I've been playing centre midfield and not having a good game of it, I could hide. You could go, how long's left in the game? 15 minutes. Right, do you know what? I could actually manage myself in this game, so I don't have to touch the ball again. Mm-hmm. How you cannot do that as a goalkeeper. No. There's absolutely no way that you cannot stand up and be counted within that. So what are the mental attributes that are required for that position in order to be successful? And then how do you teach, coach, and make people proficient within those particular attributes? And I think that's a big question that isn't necessarily answered within the current coaching curriculum that I've been exposed to. So I think that's definitely something that needs focus upon. The FA have their 4-corner model of technical, tactical, psychological, and physical, and that psychological corner as such, I think, is touched on, but I don't think it's necessarily emphasised as potentially it should be. Yeah, and that's where, I mean, there's one thing that's been really good about quarantine and lockdown at the moment is the amount of sharing that's going on social media by the coaching community, and so many webinars, so many additional things that people can book onto, and there's lots of sharing on stuff. Jack Stern is one who's he's a goalkeeping coach who's been in England, was with West Brom and some other places, and he's now at FC Cincinnati in America. And he's been doing a lot of stuff online, and he was talking about his philosophy, the club's philosophy, and he kind of touches on these things, and how do you actually manage to get an element of competitiveness, an element of psychological, not necessarily testing, but you kind of push people and see what reactions are and whatnot. And that was really valuable and really interesting. So that's really positive at the moment. But yeah, those kind of sharing from people who are in the game and understand what those pressures are, and understand then how can you coach, manage, teach people around that is really valuable and really interesting to listen to.
Of course, you obviously touched upon it's really important for these players. I feel like personally in England we're not doing it enough with our goalkeepers. We've got 2 or 3 goalkeepers, I won't name their names, but have like gone in terms of they used to have so much promise and people put so much respect on their name, and now that they've had a couple of mistakes, people seem to go, well, they're not good enough anymore, when actually they probably haven't had the right management or someone like yourself speaking to these players and giving a different outlook. No disrespect to their coaches, but I think there just needs to be, like you say, a little bit more emphasis on certain things for goalkeepers?
Yeah, I think some of that. I mean, take Jordan Pickford for example. He's prime example. Great World Cup. He's up here, makes a few mistakes from Everton, and according to the outside perspective of what's going on, then all of a sudden his reputation is down here. Same with David De Gea. I mean, how can you criticise these guys anyway from a standpoint of they are the best in order to play at the level that they are playing at, for one. So I think that's an outside perspective. I don't know, can't comment on what's actually going on within their club environments. Absolutely no idea and whatnot. But someone like Tim Dittmer, who heads up the FA goalkeeping curriculum, and I can't remember what his actual position is, but in terms of FA goalkeeping, he's very much at the top. He's another one actually who's very good to follow on social media. He's very open, and he did a great podcast with Pro GK recently. And some of the stuff that's coming out of his department, they also do the goalkeeping conference. They do lots of educational stuff. He's really interesting and really fascinating, and he talks about this sort of stuff. So from an England perspective, it sounds like absolutely they're on top of it 100%. And the stuff that's coming out there, what's going on within clubs and whatnot, absolutely no idea. But I think that goes back to the point about what's that internal viewpoint on goalkeepers and what's that external viewpoint on goalkeepers from what you'd class as mainstream. I don't know. I think there definitely just needs to be a balance between the two and a more educated perspective on General Joe as such.
Just before we move on to your sort of experiences with hashtag, just a little comment with goalkeeping. It seems like it's changing all the time. Like in terms of before, goalkeepers using their feet was unheard of, and now they're able to play out of the back. They're able to do many different things that they used to not be able to do because it was just unheard of.
Yeah, I mean, some of that is rule enforced, so back pass, however long ago the back pass came in. And then other stuff is just around tactical innovation, I suppose. So someone like Pep Guardiola is always lauded as someone who's come in and changed the game as such. Might not necessarily be changing the game, but in terms of read something like Jonathan Wilson, Inverting the Pyramid, is a really good book. Again, that talks about history of tactics and football, and generally you could kind of take some of the stuff that Pep Guardiola does and what Herbert Chapman did years ago and go, there's some similarities there between two. But, talk about that sort of thing. He's got a philosophy where he wants to control the ball and control the space within possession. He needs his goalkeeper in order to do that, because if your goalkeeper doesn't do that, you're playing effectively with 10 players and not 11. So he uses a goalkeeper as an 11th. And because of the way that they play, that a goalkeeper's ability with their feet is a hell of a lot more important than somebody else who plays in a different way, who then doesn't require the goalkeeper to be like that. And so that kind of then goes back to what's their training model, what's their goalkeeping training philosophy, and the rest of it. Because goalkeeping is a specialist position. First and foremost, you want goalkeepers to keep the ball out of the net.
Yeah.
That's got to be their primary
job. It's their main job, yeah.
Yeah, you've got to stop it. And then everything else they need within their skill set then requires a hell of different attributes. And I think that's one thing to note, though, within that, is that every goalkeeper has different attributes within it. One of the greatest goalkeepers of the Premier League era would be Peter Schmeichel. How would Peter Schmeichel, fare within a Man City team at the moment? I've got absolutely no idea. I'm pretty sure Peter Schmeichel under Alex Ferguson wasn't asked to play out for the back and then become that 11th man. However, he's one of the best goalkeepers that there's been. So every goalkeeper has their attributes that then should be a fit for the team and the way that the team plays in order to get the best out of it. And obviously that goes with the other 10 players as well within that.
Yeah, thank you very much for your insight, because I'm not, in terms of like goalkeeping, I haven't got too much background on it. It's really good to hear a different perspective on sort of the position.
What I find interesting, what I haven't seen out there, is that if you've got you've got a right back and you're coming up against a team who's got a really quick left winger, so automatically there's a mismatch between left winger's pace and right back's pace, so it's an easy out. Are you going to change the right back? Potentially. You might go, all right, on this day I'm going to play right back X because they're up against someone who's incredibly quick. No one does that with goalkeeping. at the minute. I've never seen anyone go, do you know what, because of the way that we play and because of the way that the opposition play, I'm going to change my goalkeeper because the attributes are different. Whereas the difference between a number 1 and number 2 in some places are quite stark. In some places they're quite close. So you could argue, although they're both internationals, that Edison and Bravo are at different levels.
Yeah.
So you know, and that attributes are more rounded between one and the other. Whereas if you take someone like, I don't know, current Southampton team, where they've got Fraser Forster's on loan, but Angus Gunn, and also got Alex McCarthy, their attributes might be quite similar. And are you going to chop and change according to what their strengths are and what they're not so strong at?
Of course.
I don't know. I'd be interested to see that. You've seen it with penalties.
Yeah, definitely.
Jasper Cillessen.
Yeah.
Got brought on because he's a specialist penalty saver. I don't know, but there was obviously reasons behind that. So we've seen it at that type of for a specific event. So I don't know whether or not we'd see it within just the general course of the season. It seems to be that if a goalkeeper's in, unless there's been a massive downturn in form, then that goalkeeper's pretty much a club's number 1.
I think like you touched upon there, you've never seen one goalkeeper be changed for another in terms of tactical, but I feel like, say, we're using Man City, if they had Edison and Jan Oblak, who plays for Atletico Madrid, it simply wouldn't be feasible to have both of those goalkeepers like in your team, because I think just for both players, I obviously don't know them, but I don't think they'd want to be. It's in terms of playing time, they're gonna both want to be at the very top of their game, and playing every game, aren't they? And I don't personally think Edison would want to step out for Jan Oblak or whoever, unless it was a sort of, I don't know, he'd played, the manager had told him, you're Premier League and he's Cup, as opposed to, right, we're playing Watford today, so Jan Oblak go in goal, and then you go in against Manchester United or somebody like that.
Yeah, I mean, you see it, don't you, in, say, the Carling Cup or Cup games, generally the number 2 would play and the number 1 would sit on the bench for those games. But yeah, I mean, if you're a proven top-class goalkeeper, I'm pretty sure you'd want to play in every single game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that must cause not necessarily its own problems, but its own challenges for the coaching staff within that particular team. Because if you've got a number 1, you need a team of people in order to push that number 1 to be the best number 1 that number 1 could be. So how do you, if someone's never going to play, I don't know, take someone like Richard Wright, who went to Man City, clearly a third choice. Lee Grant went to Man United, clearly a third choice goalkeeper. They're there to train. They might play, do they even have reserve team games?
Yeah, like
it's 23 league, isn't there? But how many games are they realistically going to play? So they're there effectively as a training member of the squad.
Yeah.
How do you keep someone engaged and engrossed? I mean, personally, I love training. I'd most probably prefer to train rather than playing games, but I don't know if you're a professional, if you're there to play football, how you can keep that motivation high between a group of goalkeepers rather than just an individual. Because if you've got 3 centimetre fielders vying for 2 positions, then that can be you can get people in that. You've got subs that you can bring on, you can rotate those players and whatnot. Whereas you don't see that within a goalkeeping department.
Yeah, with this is just an example. With my team, Watford, Foster is our first team goalkeeper.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I love. He's such a good goalkeeper. But also, like with the FA Cup last season, people are like, Foster needs to play. Absolutely, like don't play Gomez. But even Foster says, like in the best scenario, Gomez should play in every game, because that's the way it's gone. I've played Premier League, he's played Cup, and that's the best of both worlds, isn't it? Really, for both goalkeepers, they're both playing, they're getting their time. But like we've touched upon, I don't see a world where two top goalkeepers are going to...
Yeah, I mean, take that example and the two examples I gave. There's most probably there's a lot more to that recruitment decision as well. I'm sure there's stuff going on. We just talk about just simply playing, but an influential member of the team or whatnot.
Or Foster is second to none.
There's a lot more weight to an actual decision than just certainly playing time.
Yeah, of course. Right, let's move on to your obviously experiences with #United. You've been on plenty of tours, played in obviously Spain, more importantly Real Oviedo, obviously America. What's been your highlights playing for #?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, just the experiences that we've been able to get through playing for #, through, as a chapter one team, which is a pretty, if you're going to look at the actual ability of the whole team, we're not going to set the world alight. But just simply being able to be part of that and kind of have the experiences that we've had, be kind of not necessarily treated like a professional footballer as such, but some of the experiences we've had have been as if we are professional footballers and stuff, and that's just unbelievable. I mean, for someone like, say, I was 33, I think it was, it's got to be 4 years ago, 33, when # came along, and then being able to be part of this has been phenomenal. And I'll be forever thankful for Seb and his phone call, and then being integrated with the group and Spencer and whatnot post that, because as a young boy you want to do this sort of stuff, don't you? And then suddenly you get to play at Wembley in front of 35,000 people. I mean, that's got to be the peak. But as you mentioned, we went to Scotland, played in loads of stadiums across the board. Emirates, Crystal Palace. Went to Villa's training ground, the Spain trip.
The one in Serbia looked really good.
Serbia is an interesting one for me because, we all have jobs. We all have other stuff. We're not just full-time YouTubers, apart from Theo and Charlie whenever he decides to actually put out a video. And Spencer, and then Seb does 1,000,001 things as well, being a part-time golf YouTuber. So there was... people were flying out and they're trying to organise the flights, and I had meetings in that one day. I was like, I can't get off work. I can only fly out at certain times if that's possible. So Tarantula and I were due to fly out, just the two of us, later than everybody else, and we were supposed to fly via Germany into Serbia as a connecting flight. The flight from Germany got cancelled. I think we were at Stansted, we were at some airport within London, and we were like, right, what are we doing? How are we getting there? Got in touch with the # lot, whoever was organising it at the time. They scrabbled around. It was kind of, we're trying to get you on this flight, trying to get you on that flight. That's what's going to happen. We ended up flying out, I think, about 3 or 4 hours later than
I should remember that, yeah.
We then flew. I can't even remember which country we flew to, but it wasn't Serbia. We landed in the early hours of the morning. We got picked up by one of the guys who was from, it was the Top 11 game that we were playing in. So one of the staff from Top 11 came and picked us up early hours. We then drove 3 hours, got to the hotel in the early hours. It must have been 3 o'clock in the morning type thing. We slept for maybe 4 hours, kicked off at 10. Then again, everybody was staying overnight to then fly back the next day. I think it was a Saturday, then for a Sunday. I had to fly back on Sunday because I couldn't get the time off on Monday. So I literally flew, slept in the car, slept in the hotel for maybe 2.5 hours, if that. Played a game of football. Thankfully, I had very little to do. It was on the top of a shopping centre.
Yeah, that looked brilliant.
This pitch that was on there. And then got back in a car with, I think it was me, Dan Brown and Dawson, who then flew back from there. I literally flew and drove into Serbia, played a game of football, and then flew back again.
All for the love of YouTube, eh?
Yeah. So that was one. But again, just being part of that, being able to, just having that story and being able to say, I got flown to play football, it's just something that I didn't think I'd ever be able to say. But there's all sorts of stuff that we've been able to do, that we've been part of, Tango League with Adidas. I really enjoyed the Next Level Football League, actually, just in terms of football and playing 7-a-side. Being on a football pitch with Steven Gerrard and David James and Robbie Savage, and being able to chat to them after, and there's been all sorts of stuff that's happened that's just been brilliant for someone of my footballing ability. Wembley Cup's got to be the top of it, and being able to play again at Wembley for the second time, although not as successfully as the first time, team-wise, which was a little bit disappointing. I mean, obviously a lot made out from that second Wembley Cup in terms of the format and whatnot, having the different games and the 30-minute, 2 15-minute halves for the game and stuff that was there. And you kind of build... I mean, for the first Wembley Cup, going off track a little bit, so rein me in if need be, but the first Wembley Cup, I think I played it, in my head, I played it up far too much than it should have been. I remember speaking to Phil Martin in the hotel before, and I was like, how are you feeling? He's like, I'm fine, it's a game of football. Where in my head, it was like, oh my God, I'm playing in front of all these people, I'm doing this, it's like a massive game of football and whatnot. And that really made me anxious, and I was really quite nervous on that. The second time it came around, it was like, do you know what, I've done this, I know what it's about, it's a game of football. So I was actually, looking back on the first one, I didn't enjoy the actual game. I like looking back at the fact that I was able to do that, but I did not enjoy the game at all. I enjoyed sitting on the bench speaking to Jimmy Conrad more than playing the game. But that was only because of what the pressures that I put on myself and the way that I built up that situation in my own head. The second time, it was more like, no, I'm here, I'm playing at Wembley, I'm playing in front of a crowd, I'm going to enjoy it. Yeah. So I was generally excited about playing in that game. And then not to get through to the final and that, and only playing 15 minutes, it was kind of like, do you know what, I was up for this, I was ready for it, and then we haven't performed and we haven't done well on that. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, phenomenal to be put into that situation in the first place, but I mean, overall, when you're talking about experiences, the experience in the second Wembley Cup of being able to play and enjoy it, the experience in the first Wembley Cup to be able to play with those pros, to have that experience to play in front of that number of people, and actually that is my shirt from the
I was
first game that I got there, and I was able in that second Wembley Cup. My daughter, how old was she? I can't remember how old she was. She was a baby, but she got she's got to be about 1 then anyway. But we've managed to get. At the first Wembley Cup, we've got photos of her in the Wembley Cup. We've got photos of her with David James and Robbie Savage and stuff, and all of us together with the Wembley Cup, which is in the middle photo there. And the second Wembley Cup, we've got photos of me and her on the pitch and whatnot. So, I mean, that's just brilliant, just from a memories perspective. So, yeah, I'd like to frame stuff, get it, like, make sure that I've got that momentum on the wall that, yes, I played at Wembley and you were there. You might not remember it. The first one, it's just, now I've had my second daughter as well now, I need to get some memorabilia with her in it as well, to say, yeah, you've watched me play football as well, with some decent grounds and in front of some people. So
obviously with I think Spencer has the same outlook as all of you as well, as in you all have this sense of like, I wasn't even good enough in my own Sunday league team, let alone some of you. That's his words, not mine. But
he's not talking about me.
In terms of like he feels like it was such the stuff, even not that it was a little thing, but even when I think it was five of the players went to that Heineken. When they watch the Champions League final and things like that, that even something like that is just huge for anybody. Even it must have been such an amazing opportunity to, and especially when you don't expect to have that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at that team that played. Those sort of things shouldn't happen to that team. That's no offence to anyone. I mean, don't get me wrong, we had some good players. Yeah. I mean, Dan Brown's a phenomenal player and could have been a very good player had he decided to be. In terms of his levels, he played at a good level when he was out of uni and did a few years after, but I've got no doubt he could have played a lot higher. I didn't actually play with Phil Martin at uni because I'm a couple of years older than him. He was in the same year as Seb and he was in the second team at the time, but Phil Martin, again, played at a decent level of semi-pro and whatnot. But generally, I mean, I think at one time Spencer told me that Faisal Manjdog was the most famous Asian footballer in Britain at one time.
Wow.
And I mean, there's a few things around that as well in terms of the numbers of Asian footballers playing in the Premier League and Football League and whatnot. But, Michael Chopra, Zap Knight, Faisal Manji. It doesn't quite work out there. Faisal is a great lad. I love him to bits and whatnot, but he shouldn't be the most famous Asian footballer in the country. And that's the kind of a lot of Spencer's mates and Seb's mates, and I think that was a lot of the attraction actually of hashtag to start with. That it was okay. We most probably started as two separate bunches of mates. There was kind of Spencer's mates and Seb's mates, but everyone got on. It was kind of in the end just a group of guys playing football together, and I think that was part of the attraction.
To put perspective even more on Faisal as well. If I'm right, he was a financial advisor, and then
he worked in finance. He works for a big finance company. I think he's a vice president of his company now.
Wow.
I think.
Yes,
he's a very clever, very astute guy.
He seems that as well.
He works in finance in the bank in the city of London and whatnot. Yeah.
And then obviously to hear that, obviously there's many different variables around it, but that's the sort of the audience that hashtag have got. It's how it sort of spun out of control in the last sort of couple of years, obviously from that, and even into chapter 2 now. The prospects are huge for the club.
Yeah, I mean, that's testament to Spencer and Seb
and
now Neil and the other guys who work behind the scenes, because they work phenomenally hard. And, Spencer's got a very clear vision about where he wants to go to, and he's been very clever about how he's propositioned the club and what he wants to do with it. And then similar to that, Seb is very, very good at what he does. He's very astute, and he's been able to help the club in the commercial way, and then the people behind the scenes who actually do the running about and the organising and the doing and the social. It's a very good setup. I think what Spencer's very good at is putting the right people in the right places, and that's been the same with Debs coming on board as the manager. He's got a good experience, hasn't he? He's a good fit for the club, and also one of the whole backroom staff as such. The people who keep ticking over do the things that a lot of people don't see, because a lot of work goes on in the background, and that's potentially where the hashtag themselves, and say hashtag in terms of the people who work for it, set themselves aside from others and whatnot, just because they are such a good bunch of people who have got such a strong work ethic and who are able to make things happen.
Yeah, of course, and I think Spencer obviously touched upon it as well. He could have brought anybody in to do the job that say yourself does, or Seb does, or whoever does around the club. But it's great that he's been able to integrate the people from obviously chapter 1 and the different things that have been around the club. But also it's because they do the job well. In terms of like Seb with his previous job, he wouldn't have brought him in for no reason type thing. So it's testament to obviously the people from chapter 1 as well. Obviously they do a great job in what they do, like you touched upon.
Yeah, I mean from a playing perspective, the step from chapter 1 to chapter 1 to chapter 2. Was always going to have some natural wastage as such. There are always going to be certain people that will say, do you know what, I'm not good enough, I'm not going to do it. And there are other people who say, do you know what, I am good enough, but I can't do it, because it brought with it other challenges, playing every week, travelling around. I mean, we were travelling. One of the reasons why I stopped playing was the amount of travelling that was going, and going to the back end of Essex in order to play a game on a Saturday, and it was, leaving your house at 11 and not coming back till 7 type stuff. Other things, but being able to keep a core and identity through from chapter 1 to chapter 2, and then to continue and build on that as the journey progresses, and then to build the club, like this week, the announcement of the women's team. Absolutely. And all sorts of stuff that's going on behind the scenes, and to build the club. So it's not seen as a YouTube stuff, it's a proper footballing entity. The step of that was, moving into non-league and becoming a proper football team. Now it's to build on that and to grow a base and community and teams around that. So, I think, like I say, Spencer's got a vision to that, and I've got absolute confidence that he'll follow it through. I mean, look at what he's done so far. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on slightly, obviously, your role now, you're obviously the goalkeeping coach. What has it been like? Obviously, you say you've got experience in coaching, but what has it been like? Have you had experience in first team before? And what's has it been like with working with new goalkeepers? Obviously, you'll be working with Jacko hopefully when he comes back, but the new goalkeepers you have in Lewis Hawes and what's his name? Tim Pittman. That's it. Sorry.
Yeah. So my background in coaching is generally started most probably when I was 17, and it's 99% of the time has been with youth football. Yeah. And that's been ranging from, actually younger than that. I was coaching, doing after school stuff for, 7 and 8 year olds through to 18-year-olds. One of the clubs actually the club that I was with, Tash, tried to start helping out coaching with that. And that was a young team, but it was an adult team on there. And personally, I found that transition between youth team and adults a little bit difficult. You have to really think about the messaging that you're giving to adults versus children. There's a different way about it, I think, and the group becomes really important, and the people within that group. Well, actually, this is all age groups, but generally, as an adult, you've been doing certain things certain ways for a certain period of time. If you're then going to come across with slightly different ways as a coach and try and impart that to a group of adults who's been doing stuff, I found that a little bit difficult to get through. But I've always done outfield coaching. Yeah. So, going backstage, that's another shirt from a time when I spent a year at coaching with New York Red Bulls. So with that, again, it was predominantly youth team coaching. This was there's a couple of different standards of football within America, and this was at all different standards. And again, this was from youth to adults, and this was coaching every day, all day. Loads of time on the field, boys, girls, outfield. But then there was an element of goalkeeping within that as well. Youth team goalkeeping. We did loads of American qualifications as well to supplement some of the English qualifications that we've had. So there was that goalkeeping background. So working with hashtag has been different. So it's different both in terms of the types of coaching that we're doing. So where you're going out and managing groups of people, you might be doing an 8v8 with 16 people, phase of play with 16, 17, 18 players before that. Now, the element of goalkeeping is very much close-knit, smaller groups, working to kind of, my role was in technical prep sessions for the bigger session type stuff. So it became a different way and a different way to think about how to put sessions on, how to get things out which become more relevant and real. What I'm trying to do is take my experience as being a goalkeeper and the key coaching that I've received in fits and spurts from being a goalkeeper into the wider hashtag group. And what I found is that one of the things that I struggled with as a goalkeeper, not having played in goal for so long, that first point, is the more game-related stuff. So I could catch a ball, I could dive, I could, kick a ball however long, but the decisions about when, why, and how then become different. So, and in order to get those decision-making elements out in a session, you have to put people in a session that's relevant and real to the game. So how do you replicate that within a training session when you might only have 2, 3, 4 goalkeepers in a specific time period? And it becomes a challenge. And how do you get that relevance out, and how do you repeat it constantly? So what I've tried to do is work with the goalkeepers, understand where they're at, understand where we're going, understand how, what sort of things that they need in order to help them become better goalkeepers, and then understand how they can actually put that into practice with the game. We've got a few challenges in there, as I'm sure every club does, is that my availability means that I can really only do one night a week. The team club train twice a week. Yes. Within that, Tim can't train all the time. He's a personal trainer. He does loads of stuff. He's self-employed. He's got to take care of himself that way. Lewis is a keen trainer. Michael Dill, who's the Sunday team goalkeeper, is the keen trainer. Jacko was obviously injured for a long time. Lewis Lawler, who was on the Academy series as well, was going to be put into a position where he could fight for a place at the beginning of the season. He injured himself as well, so at times potentially we've only had 1-2 keepers at a session. So how do you do this? So all those challenges that we're just trying to work through at the moment, obviously fitting in with what a #United goalkeeper should look like and what's required from him on Saturday. Because if you see Tim and you see Lewis, who have been the main 2 goalkeepers this year, they've most probably played about 50% of the games each. Might be slightly in Lewis's favour than Tim's, but it hasn't been too far out. They're both 2 very different goalkeepers in the way that they play. So how do you then keep those kind of natural attributes as such, things that they want to do? How do you make them better, and how do you make the things that they might be not so good at better in order to make sure that they're meeting the outcomes that are required of them on a Saturday afternoon or a Tuesday evening, whenever the game is?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to go into the more personal side, but what has it sort of been like? Like you've touched upon the training. What has it been like working with, like, you say the newer players that you haven't worked with before? Because obviously with Jacko it might have been a little bit easier to obviously. It's difficult to say, but
I don't know. Jacko's joined in training towards the end, and Jacko's been great in the training sessions. One thing that Jacko does very well that I do like is that he sets his standards up here and he doesn't expect them to drop. And when he sets his standards up here, it also brings the standards of the other goalkeepers up, which I think is very valuable attribute, skill to have, which helps me.
Of course,
helps me as a coach throughout there. But I suppose what I need to do. Jacko's also played at a good standard previously. He's a good goalkeeper. He's also 40 years old now. Might be 41. Sorry, Jack. He's a little bit older than me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I suppose what's on my mind about this is then how would Jacko feel about me coming to say, actually, have you thought about doing this better? What do you think about this? That sort of thing, because you can take that as going, I've played in golf for however many years. I've played at a standard that's a lot better. Why? You could question that, or you could say, actually, do you know what? I'm open to trying that because I want to get better, and I want to feel that I am becoming better still and becoming sharper, fitter, all the rest of it. And thankfully, Jacko's been the second rather than the first, which has been very helpful and useful to me, because I'm also on this learning journey as a goalkeeper. What I don't want to do, as a goalkeeping coach say, what I don't want to do is be there and just be a server. What I don't want to do, I want to add value to both the team and the goalkeepers, so then they can say, all right, is Andy here for this training session? Can we do something X, Y, and Z? So within that as well, there's also, I suppose, what do I think that these guys need from what's happening on Saturday? And we're very lucky that we film all the games. So we're able to look back on footage and see actually what did the goalkeeper do. It's been quite eye-opening just going through that and seeing what actions keepers do. And you'll be surprised at the amount of kicking that they do compared to everything else. So that's something that we change within our training, that we get out there at least half an hour before the outfield players, just in order to make sure that we do some kicking out there, because that's most probably a neglected skill at our level, versus the amount that we actually do. What we're doing within that, where we're distributing to, how we're distributing to, all those sort of questions come into it, so we can try and replicate that. Sorry, I've gone off on one. What was your original
question? Of course. It's good to sort of get the behind the scenes. It's brilliant.
So you're talking about new players. So generally, 99% of the players. Again, it goes back to Devs and his recruitment. Spencer's recruited Devs. Devs is fully on board. He understands what the whole big picture of the club is. Dev understands that, and then through his recruitment of the new players, kind of ensures that they're on board with that. Whether or not other people, the new players, would look at me and go, he's got a Chapter 1 influence, whether or not. I still want to play as well to a bit, and I still want to join in a little bit. And there's been times where at training where, there's a need for an additional keeper, or a keeper needs rest within certain things. So I've joined in. Whether or not they look at that and go, actually, he's not very good. Whether or not they go, oh, he's better than I thought I would be. But I haven't trained for a long time. I might not be as sharp as I once was. I don't know. I suppose you'd have to ask them.
Of course.
I obviously played half the first season. So played with them. So hopefully they've got a background and going, actually, he's all right. There's been a number of new players that have come on board the second season. Again, I'm not there all of the time. I'm not there for every game. I'm only there as much as I can be, because I want to be involved and I want to give back and I want to help people through that. But hopefully people can see that. Hopefully if people can see that I'm trying to help and trying to be a positive voice for them and help them along the way, then that's taken as a positive for them.
Oh, absolutely. And in terms of the chapter 1, playing in front of 35,000 people, not many people can say that. So even just a little bit of experience in terms of if the goalkeepers you're working with haven't had that experience, that already is a golden bit of information, isn't it? Just every little bit, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, again, going back to the quarantine and this information sharing and stuff, there's been loads of information that's come out and ideas and whatnot. So just listening to those, how can I actually put certain things into practice? Because we should be, as a group, we should be utilising knowledge across the board. Mm-hmm. It's like someone like Tom Williams is within the squad. Tom Williams has played international football.
Wealth of knowledge.
He's got one cap for Cyprus. He's been put in certain situations that certain players, a lot of the players might only dream of being able to that. Take Jacko, for example. He's played at a good standard of semi-pro football. So has Peds. Peds has played international football as well. Richo's played at a good standard and scored goals, load the ball. So there's a lot of experience in there, and that shows within the changing room. But it's how best can then the overall team leverage that. Because, if I was to take Jack Martin, for example, he's a very good player. Jack Martin's got a lot of potential. Yeah. He plays at left back, plays at the same position as Tom Williams. If I was now, would I have done it if I was 18 and in Jack's position? Potentially not. But now Jack should be talking to Tom about anything and everything. Yeah. Just, maybe Tom should be taking on a bit of a mentoring role within Jack in order to help him out and whatnot. But that's very much come from Debs and his recruitment, and then it's come from actually how do we then, as a coaching team, as a coaching staff as such, be able to leverage the experience and the knowledge that we've got within the group to then disseminate that across the board of players, because then that would only help the unit grow. And if you get a unit that then can go up, because this core of players that Debs has got on board, like Harry Honesty played at a good standard, he's played National League, and going across the others have as well. There's absolutely no reason that the core of that can't be the core of the team that potentially, we would have got promoted last year, most probably, into the next step. Could that team that was then in place add one or two players, go up to the next level and then keep that progressing through, potentially? And if you're going to get that, then you get buy-in from the players, from the people who are watching, from everything else in order to go on this journey again. So I think there's only exciting times to come, really, with hashtag and that using that core of players that Debs has brought together at this point.
Oh yeah, obviously, like you say about Debs as well. People on YouTube may have not seen the sort of stuff he brings to the table. Obviously, it's well documented. He has experience, but he's been at high levels, hasn't he? In terms of he's been with East Thurrock and other different teams.
Yeah, as a player, I couldn't work Debs out, to be honest. Really? I didn't. Yeah, I understand now from the second bit why he does what he does, and he kind of gets in. He has a distance between between the players and him, which I think you kind of need as a management level. Absolutely. But then he knows when to dip in and get involved, and then when to step back. He's very good at knowing what to say and when to say it, and he knows about getting on top of personalities that he knows very well and getting the best out of those players. I don't think it helped me as a player that I was in and out because I was playing one game, Jacko was playing one game. I don't think that helped necessarily And yeah, I kind of, the way that I would want to have been managed by as a player, I don't think necessarily fit into the way that Devs manages. But I think that's mainly down to my insecurities, most probably, as a goalkeeper, more than the way that he manages. From a coaching side of things and being able to watch, especially what he does on a match day and the game day and stuff, then yeah, I think he's a very good fit, and you can learn a lot from being in that sort of environment. And same with Joe Keith. I mean, Joe played professional footballer as well, so obviously Devs has brought him on board in order to help out, because he can't do everything himself and whatnot. So that's an interesting mix as well.
Yeah, I'll definitely. In terms, like you say, with Jay, you watch his halftime team talks, and they can very much be like Marmite, but with the way he comes across, you can see he brings results straight away, because in certain performances, some managers might go in being like 2-0 down and start shouting and stuff, whereas I've seen, obviously as a viewer, seen certain things in half time where he goes in and goes, like he sort of puts an arm around the players, which like you say, he seems very good at, but you can see why somebody couldn't like get to grips with it. But that's why he's brought in the certain sort of player, I suppose, that has the experience under him, maybe.
Yeah, I think
like with Harry,
I think his recruitment's been second to none, really. I think that's what's really taken hashtag on to the next level, is the players that he's brought in. I mean, someone like Ricky Evans, I most probably didn't see eye to eye with Ricky to start off with. Kind of didn't necessarily agree with some of the stuff that was said and done and whatnot behind the scenes. But however, now looking back on it and being part of that outside stuff, I absolutely understand what Ricky's role was within the team and how good he was at fulfilling that role and being able to drag people up and being able to be that kind of, these are the minimum standards that are expected of this club now, and you either ship in, ship out, and that's kind of it. This is what has to be done in order to make sure that we're successful, and I have been successful in past experiences because of this. So see that across, and that's the same with the number of people within that change room. It's a very good change room.
Yeah, absolutely. You see it. They're I think the way to put it, the nicest way to put it, is they're all very straight down the line. Like they don't pull no punches. If they want to put a message across, they do. With more so with Jay and Ricky Evans when he was at the club.
Yeah, and I suppose going back to my own experiences, that's most probably what's different, or one of the big differences between being a youth team coach and being an adult first team coach in certain situations.
Of course. Yeah, of course. Moving on to sort of the more personal things. So, who did you support growing up? Obviously, you said you lived sort of round. Was it Aston Villa? Maybe Aston Villa and Wolves.
So I started I'm a Wolves fan now.
Yes.
However, when I was growing up, my dad took a neutral stance, and I don't know why. I need to ask him about it. I like all West Midlands football. You make your own choice type thing.
Yeah.
And when I was 8, my friend, him and his dad and his brother had a season ticket down at his villa. It might have been 8, 9, sort of that sort of age. So my mate's, it was his younger brother, so he couldn't go to night games. So I ended up going to Villa Park, and I was a Villa fan for a few years when they were decent under Brian Little and the likes of Mark Draper, Dean Saunders, Dalian Atkinson, Tommy Johnson, Alan Wright, Nigel Spink, Mark Bosnich. They all played. I was a Villa fan for those years. Only because I got to go down and watch games. So I was down at Villa Park a lot, seeing the whole end. Then that dried up because his younger brother got old enough to go to night games. So it's like, thanks, but you haven't got a ticket anymore. You can't freeload on us. Yeah. So then me and my dad got a season ticket down the Wolves. Brilliant. And we were sitting in the family enclosure in the Billy Wright, and we had a season ticket maybe for 4 or 5 years when Wolves were a big club in the first division as was, and then the Championship. We were always in the playoffs, always looking to get promoted, but then never did. So we were always that big spending first division team, trying to get up, but then never did.
You must enjoy the years that you've got now, obviously under Nuno Espirito Santo. They've got a great structure going there, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's brilliant now, but I don't get to watch any games. So I don't go down there anymore. I don't
just in time.
Go down, yeah. And then at the time, obviously, Saturday afternoons, we were playing, so couldn't get down to games down in London and whatnot. They always seemed to be on a Saturday, so I couldn't go to West Ham or Spurs or wherever. And now, I've got a young family, so I can't exactly say, right, let's go off to the football. No. With a 3-year-old, I don't think you should. Yeah, 3-year-old and 6-month-old, I don't think they'd really appreciate it just yet. So I'll wait a couple of years and then I'll take them off. But my in-laws are QPR fans, so we've got a Wolves gnome in the back garden. We've also happened to have a QPR gnome in the back garden. So they're trying to, I bought Poppy, who's my firstborn, a Wolves baby grow, and then literally the day after a QPR baby grow turned up, and she seemed to have worn the QPR one a lot more than the Wolves one. So I'm trying to get in there as much as possible.
My story is a little bit similar to yours in the sense that my dad wasn't a massive fan. He went to go down and watch Reading more so, but my brother dragged me along to Watford one day, and instantly I was like, yeah, this is the team I want to support, because although they're not heavy hitters in terms of they were up there. You had names like Troy Deeney, obviously playing well now, but even like Matty Vidra, who's at Burnley now.
Yeah, it's decent.
Yeah. But there's other little weird things that we've had at the club, like nobody remembers Hector Bellerin playing for us on loan.
Oh yeah.
So it's definitely been a weird one being a Watford fan.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen all sorts down at Molineux over the time. I mean, there were some terrible teams out there when Mark McGee was manager and Colin Lee was manager. But then within that, you had bright sparks like Robbie Keane started his career there. And Robbie Keane, like a team was built around Robbie Keane, so got to watch him a lot. Obviously, Steve Bull, absolute legend at Molineux, scored goals for fun. Mike Stow was the goalkeeper down there for years, and he's a Leicester assistant manager now, I think. He was very underrated and an exceptional goalkeeper for that level. So we've seen some great players, and we've also seen some absolute dross there as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that comes with the Championship, doesn't it? We've all. I think obviously you see it in the Premier League as well, but I don't think you'd get some of the names that we've got down at Vicarage Road, and I definitely think you probably have had it down at Molineux. But who were your idols growing up?
Idols. I mean, from a goalkeeping perspective, when I was playing in goal back then, I was a Villa fan during those times. So it was Mark Bosnich. I was the Villa fan. I was a Villa keeper at the time. I remember writing an essay at school. I think I was in year 6 at the time. That was on Gordon Banks.
Wow.
Gordon Banks on the 1966 World Cup, and then what happened to him since, with losing sight in an eye and going across to America and still being able to play and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, as well, someone like Iker Casillas, from a goalkeeping perspective, is always good because he's not massive. So being able to be a world-class goalkeeper, and I think he's only just over 6 foot. I mean, I'm 5'11" and a half. So, him, Fabian Barthez, not necessarily being massive goalkeepers, being top-class goalkeepers in there was always good. But from a goalkeeping perspective, the goalkeeper of my era growing up was Peter Schmeichel. He was phenomenal. Oh, yeah. So being able to watch him at the time, and see his influence around from an outfield perspective, when I kind of got out of playing in goal when I was a little bit older, Steven Gerrard was just phenomenal. And like I say, because of my lack of pace, because of the position I played when I did start playing, we used to watch a lot of Teddy Sheringham. Yeah. Just like that little withdrawn sort of number 10 centre forward, got an eye for a pass-ish, not a lot of pace, but always managed to do something.
Even, with I think from a young age, whether you, I think more so maybe for other people not, but when I was younger, Steven Gerrard was the player. Regardless if you supported Liverpool, what a player he was. And my first England game, we went 1-0 down to Hungary, and you're like, oh, here we go. And then Steven Gerrard pops up with 2 goals, 2 very good goals as well. And I think people look too much towards him not winning the Premier League. I think he wasn't underrated, but I don't think he was given enough.
He's a phenomenal player. And I mean, lucky enough, he played at that first Wembley Cup, so being able to say shared a pitch with him. And one thing I didn't do, which Dan Brown did do straight away, as soon as the final whistle goes at that first Wembley Cup, Dan Brown legs it. And he goes into the changing room to get into his bag to go get Steven Gerrard's memorabilia. I think he got a shirt and he got something else, and literally went straight up to Gerrard afterwards and was like, can you sign this? I was like, I wish I'd done something like that. But thankfully after, actually, through Seb, we were able to get on a golf day, Steven Gerrard Foundation golf day, so got to meet him then and whatnot, and have a little chat and stuff. So just being able to do that sort of stuff through being hashtag and Seb, well, that's been brilliant.
Cool.
Yeah, Steven Gerrard, phenomenal player. What gets me as well, within that Wembley Cup game, that first one, is that obviously they've just made a mistake. They've just scored the penalty. Literally 2 minutes after that, just to talk about that just for 1 second, just to let you know, it was a great decision by me actually to come. However, Sam, that is come for the cross, which then I ended up taking down Emil Heskey. But Sam Adams gets his way in, and he gets a deflection on the cross, which actually then takes it into a different direction, and that's what the issue was. It's not my decision to come or not. It's Sam Adams. But literally 2 minutes after that, Steven Gerrard picks the ball up about 35 yards out and just decides to unleash one. Thankfully, I think Sam Adams might have been Sam Adams or someone else, but gets in the way of it. And
I think I remember that, yeah.
But he clearly is thinking, I mean, I would have thought for those guys, it's just a kickabout. They're just not that interested in it. But clearly in his head, he said, right, their goalkeeper's just made a mistake. He's fragile. I'm going to test him. I'm just going to shoot from 35 yards out. And obviously that guy can shoot from 35 yards out.
Of course again, yeah. So
you can just see him going, right, might as well, made a mistake, he's fragile. I'm just going to try and compound that area and make it even worse for him. But,
sort of player he is.
Yeah. You've got to have that sort of mentality to then get to the top and be able to go, well, I'm proven winner, I'm going to beat you. Might as well beat you by a lot than not beat you by as many as I could do.
No, obviously, most people know you from your time with hashtag and Wembley Cup and all the things around YouTube. But what is your job outside of the things on YouTube? Obviously, we spoke off camera, but what is the job you do?
Yes, I'm a project manager. So I finished university in Northampton Hove many years ago, did a load of odd jobs here, there and everywhere, went travelling for a little bit, and then came down to London and settled as a job for a leisure company, actually running swimming pools, gyms, trampoline parks, cafes, spas, all sorts. And I was in that job for about 10, 11 years or so, and then about a year and a half ago I left that job to then go work for Transport for London, for TfL. Yes. So I'm a project manager in the IT team there in tech and data, and doing project managing IT things. Brilliant.
That's super. What has it been like? Obviously, you touched upon you're a young family. What has it been like in isolation with your family?
I mean, TfL is a good organisation to work for, first of all. So we got told about a week and a half before the official lockdown that, right, we're going to start putting measures in place. If you can work from home, which my department can, remote working and all those bits, work from home from now on until you get told otherwise. So we're most probably about 10 days earlier than the official guidance for that. So I've been in quarantine isolation as such, working from home for about 5.5, maybe 6 weeks now.
Wow.
I think in the first few weeks it was quite novel. Now the novelty's worn off a bit. And like I say, we've got 2 young children, and it brings its own challenges with that. We've got a toddler. Well, I say toddler, she's a young child of her own right now. She's 3.5, and she wants a lot of attention, so she should. So for a parent, you're trying to give that, trying to work. And we've got a 6-month-old who's teething and doing things that babies should do.
Stuff,
so that brings its own challenges in itself. You know, there were loads of groups that my wife used to take the kids to and do things. They obviously all got knocked on the head and cancelled, and some are virtual and online now, and some aren't. And you know, not being able to go socialise for those guys with the kids and the circle of friends that my daughter had, not being able to do that. I feel a little bit sorry for her, actually, because it's obviously taken away a lot of stuff, and whether or not she fully understands it, I'm not quite sure. I think she does, the way it's been explained, but it's obviously got to be quite hard for her.
Especially at 3 years old as well.
Yeah, I mean, we relied a lot on my wife's parents, who live not far from us as well, and they're now self-isolating as well, so it brings its own challenges, but there's light at the end of the tunnel, I'm sure. I mean, like I say, it's a terrible situation we're in at the moment, but now is the time that I'm able to work from home, so I'm home all the time. I used to commute maybe 3 hours a day, 2.5, 3 hours a day getting to and from work. I don't have to do that anymore, so it means that I can spend more time with my kids, and that's positive for me, being able to do a lot more stuff, again, trying to work and be there at times. Thankfully, like I say, TFL is very understanding with that, and thankfully my family's healthy and whatnot at the moment. So it's challenging, I think, is the right word. But yeah, it has its upsides as well as its downsides and stuff. So.
Absolutely. My last question is going to be where can people find you on your social medias and YouTube? Obviously, it's on Twitter at Andy #1GK.
That's right. So Twitter and Instagram at Andy1 at Andy #1. I don't get it right myself. And then on YouTube as well. I mean, sort of social media stuff is generally all goalkeeping type related. If you want to follow me on Twitter for a bit of general chit chat and get a little bit of an insight into my life and whatnot, Instagram is very goalkeeping heavy, and then YouTube is very goalkeeping heavy with lots of challenges, fun stuff to do, some interesting videos, some training videos on there as well as a few vlogs and other bits. There's a whole range of content, but if you're looking for training ideas, training at home, isolation ideas, there's a few bits on that. If you're looking for challenges, goalie wars, deflection challenges, distribution challenges, all sorts on there as well with some of the other #keepers and some other guys. That's all on there. So yeah, Andy #1 YouTube, Andy #1GK on Twitter and Instagram.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Andy. It's been really, really great to chat to you about the insightful angle on goalkeepers, because I have said before, I'm not particularly one to know about goalkeeping. I've obviously been an outfielder, so it's been really great to chat.
No worries. Enjoyed that. Thanks for that.